I used to get so irritated when I'd hear pastors or Christian speakers talk about striving versus receiving. So what are you telling me? That I need to stop working on my business? That ambition, hard work, drive, it's wrong? It's ungodly? That God was almost expecting me to suppress my ambition? However, I didn't realize that at that time when that narrative was running through my head, I was actually building my business from an incredibly unhealthy place. See, the foundation was cracked. My identity was misplaced. Little did I know that this performance spirit that I was carrying was not only showing up in work, but was also seeping into other areas of my life as well. The problem is that I was carrying this anxiety or this inner agitation that I just couldn't seem to shake. It was this inner narrative of do more, be better, you're never enough. You constantly have to work, you have to strive, you have to prove. Now looking back on it, I think to myself, what if God wasn't trying to quench my ambition? What if he wasn't trying to change me, but he purely was trying to shift my identity off of work, trying to heal me of this inner agitation, this anxiety, and shift it onto him? Being able to work from a healthy place, a place of rest, a place of receiving, a place of partnership with God, of building together instead of just building for myself and ultimately to prove that I'm good enough. In this video, I want to share the dangers of striving. I want to share how that performance spirit can poke its nasty head, show up in other areas of your life. And how do we receive? How do we approach work from a healthy place of a healthy identity in God and ultimately partnership with God to work and to build? One thing I noticed about this performance spirit is you can never be enough. And where it really roots in is it roots in a place of of not feeling good enough, of feeling like a bad person, feeling like you have to work in order to prove that you're actually good. That narrative is very scary to do life from because it dictates your behaviors, your actions, your thought life. So my question for you is, are you in control of you, or is striving, a performance spirit, in control of you? What exactly is striving? Because you might be asking, I'm confused. I thought hard work was good. I thought it was honorable. I thought it was God-given. And absolutely, don't get me wrong, it definitely is, because Colossians 3:23 through 24 shares, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord and not for humans. Striving is a misplaced identity, not seeing yourself through the lens of the way that God ultimately sees you. Striving comes with a lot of confusion, a spirit of confusion that kind of follows you. You're not really sure, are you in your actual true purpose? Are you operating out of your natural God-given strengths? See, the belief that one can carry is that I have to go out and get whatever it could be, because I'm not good enough for it to actually come to me or to be attracted to me. And if it does end up coming to me, then I will push it away because I don't believe that I deserve it. So the only way that I can actually accept good things is if I actually work for it, go out and get it. Striving is rooted in the fear that God will not show up. It's the attitude that I must do it on my own. I must take the reins from God because God is just purely checked out. This type of narrative or attitude, like I've mentioned before, can show up in many areas, not just work. It can show up in relationships. It can show up with your relationship with people, with food, with exercise, with family as well. So what are some ways to determine if you're actually striving? One way to determine if you are striving is, are you putting pressure on something or someone that actually doesn't need to be there? Here's a way that it could potentially show up in relationships. You have a very tough standard on yourself naturally with a performance spirit. And then when you're around other people, especially like your partner or someone you're in a close relationship with, you can tend to put that tough standard on the other person as well. When they fail to meet that tough standard, we can instantly get irritated or frustrated. It's a cycle of, you've got to be better. Wait, why can't you be better? Where then that can turn into a place of shame, of embarrassment that we're being so tough on them in the first place. It's rubbing up on that performance spirit. It irritates something within us. It makes us frustrated. It's very challenging to find freedom on your own from this cycle. Like I shared before, pressure is rooted in performance. Pressure does not come from God. It actually comes from a place of self, ego as well. It's time to surrender those expectations, surrender that pressure to God to ultimately align with what He wants, what His will is for us. Challenge and danger of putting too much pressure on something or someone else is that then we begin to believe that our perspective is the only way. We cannot see from another perspective, not even from someone else, or we can't even see from God's perspective at all. We then begin to block out God's blessing unknowingly, and we then begin to not even be in a posture of receiving or rest. We can, over time, operate out of a scarcity mindset, blocking out God's voice, and that our own way is ultimately the only way. We are being led by the flesh. We are not being led by the Spirit. See, Romans 8:6 says that the mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life, it's peace. This is a very dangerous place to be when we're governed by our own flesh. The key is to start with asking yourself, okay, in what areas of my life do I put too much pressure? In what areas of my life are actually robbing my peace? In what areas of my life am I actually carrying an orphan spirit? Because performance and orphan spirit tend to go hand in hand. An orphan spirit is a belief that you are abandoned, that you're ultimately rejected, that you come from a very place of low self-worth. You're just not worthy. It can also show up in a number of different ways. It can show up in perfectionism, people-pleasing, feeling inferior, hidden shame, and also self-reliance as well, a hyper-independence. Regardless of where you are in your process, we all have areas where we don't fully trust God. Our immediate response is to strive to make something happen on our own. But I want you to imagine a specific instance where you're actually needing God to intervene. As you do, imagine that in the palm of your hand, you're fully gripping it. Slowly, as you imagine yourself slowly starting to release that to God, to openly give that to Him, to surrender that to Him. Now, worship as the breakthrough comes.